According to the October inflation report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation rate quickened to 31.52% on a year-on-year basis, which was 7.80 percentage points higher compared to 23.72% in October 2022. While the headline rate rose to 27.33% in October, food prices have been on the rise across Nigeria. Situation was heavily impacted by government policies such as the removal of subsidies on petrol and the unification of exchange rates, amongst others. Let's talk more around this, and Dr. Mathew Ojo is a researcher and agribusiness economist. He joins me now live from the United Kingdom. Dr. Ojo, good afternoon, and thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon to our viewers at home, and good afternoon, Tolu. Thanks for having me.
Well, indeed, I would like to start this way. If you were surprised with the figures you saw from the NBS, that's talking about food inflation. Many would say it was expected considering the present challenge that we face as a country. Are you in any way, or were you surprised when you saw those figures talking about inflation, food inflation in Nigeria? And how do we move on with that as we move towards the end of the year, that there should be enough of buying, eating, and all of that?
Yeah, thanks, Tolu. I'm not surprised. I'm rather concerned because it's still going to go higher, and that's my concern really. To say whether I'm surprised, no, because it's expected. Just from your report, you noticed or you mentioned some of the government policies that have been taken in recent months have driven up food prices and have made it impossible for Nigerians to be able to access those food items they ordinarily were comfortable purchasing before now. Now, if you want to look at it globally, because when you talk about inflation in Nigeria and high food prices, there are some certain people who are quick to tell you, look, it is not only in Nigeria, globally, food prices are increasing and all that. But where I beg to differ is the misjudgment in comparing some of these countries with us. In Nigeria, the disposable income that is spent on food as at 2021, okay, if you look at the data from our World in Data, you will see that disposable income in Nigeria, up to 60% of it are spent, household food consumption. And if you compare now and then, you will see that inflation has risen so much. And you cannot imagine to what extent how someone who earns 10,000 naira will spend on food. So they are spending like up to 6,000 naira or even 7,000 naira from their 10,000 naira on food alone. That is the challenge with this kind of situation we are having. If you look at the report also from the National Bureau of Statistics, when this inflation figures were released, you look at the items that they are pointing at as having led to increase in inflation. You want to talk about food like potato. I always mention yam, tubers, vegetables. These are things we produce in Nigeria. All right. If we want to talk about imported food, that you understand will be impacted heavily by the exchange rate. But the food that we produce in Nigeria that is grown locally and you have the prices increasing, the question should be asked, what are we not getting right here? Why can't we just feed ourselves? Why can't we make food easily affordable to Nigerians? And then you see many of these issues and challenges we're having, half of them will be solved. So I'm not surprised to. It's just that I'm seriously concerned that this might still go higher.
I like us to look at possible solutions to this, or practical and possible solutions to this challenge. Agriculture, we know what's been happening to farmers, security issues in this part of the world. We also see governors saying they have the land. People are not coming there. I spoke to Bauchi State Governor and he mentioned this vast land and people are not taking advantage of it. Where do we really start from? Let's highlight some solutions to this challenge.
Right, it's good that we want to go back to all this, and I'm happy. We have land, we have up to 35 million hectares of arable land in Nigeria. And so land is not the issue. Let me take you back a bit. You remember in January 2022, the Buhari-led government, launched what they called rice pyramid, and it was all over the news. We would no longer have to worry about rice. We will feed ourselves. And you asked me this question, and I said the concern I always have is that there is no structure, no foundation upon which all this is laid. It's just show, and that's all. So you ask me, how much is a bag of rice then, and how much is a bag of rice now? Has it come down? What happened to the rice pyramid of a year ago? Where did they all vanish to? So the question is the structure. My problem is when we talk about food prices in Nigeria, you always see some government officials always talking about, well, okay, we have now marked 500,000 hectares of land to produce rice, to produce maize and the like. So I will ask, what happened to the existing farms that people have? How are those farms performing? If we're adding 500,000 hectares additionally, I don't have a problem. But what is happening to the existing ones? Are they producing maximum? Are we making cost of production reduced? So the challenge of food prices in Nigeria is not just about production. Because when you talk about food security, you have to address certain aspects of food security. As you're addressing production, you're addressing affordability, you're addressing accessibility, you're addressing quality. So it has to be a holistic approach to address food situation in Nigeria. So no, my concern with this country is this. We are gathering up kegs of gunpowder and we are sitting on them and smiling. It will explode and it will affect so many people because someone who is hungry is only a neighbor to someone who is angry. And you can see the spelling or the pronunciation are very close. So the problem is when you say a governor said they have land, my question would be, what are the incentives that have been put in place? What is the structure and the foundation he has put in place to attract youth to farm or to farming? Because you don't just say we have land and people should come and farm. What about the cost of input? Okay, and when they produce, how accessible is their farm to the nearest place of collection? I've said it before. I have farmers that I've interacted with that planted, or I use plantain as an example. The man had acres of plantain rotting away on his farm. And I asked what was the challenge. He said, the rains are here. I can't access my farm. I can't. And anybody that wants to go, I have to pay heavily. So you have a food on the farm spoiling away or rotting away because of accessibility. So if you see governments make announcements and commitments, at times I just smile. It is the follow-up actions that will show how committed they are. All right, a few months back, all right, the government came up and said we are declaring emergency on food in Nigeria. And you asked me the question, I said, look, the subsequent actions will prove the commitment of this current administration. So where are the steps we've taken, or what are the steps we've taken? I hate it to the bone marrow when you see government officials or politicians come on national TV to show that they are giving fertilizer to farmers. They are giving farm implement. We don't need all that. Because if you do the needful, the prices of the food will reflect in the market. People themselves will praise you as a governor or as a minister. So all this showmanship we are doing I've been in this country for how many years? I've never seen where someone comes to the national TV to say, see what we are giving to farmers. We have somehow come to leverage on nonsense in Nigeria, and we publicize it and say, this is what we are doing. My challenge is this. We need to start showing actions that will speak for themselves, okay, to show how committed we are. Not this noise we make and we have nothing on ground, and people are hungry by the day.
Partnership remains very important, and I've seen it in recent times. Countries are showing interest, particularly in agriculture, the value chain. We have the Saudi Arabians. They are ready to do business with us. We have other countries showing so much of interest in coming to Nigeria. I want to ask you, how beneficial would you look at these partnerships? Because for me, it should be a win-win situation, not coming here to move our produce and all of that and maybe come back with refined or already packaged products that had gone through processing. What more can we do to benefit from such partnerships? That is my question.
Good enough that we're talking about partnership. When you have all this kind of partnership, ordinarily they are supposed to complement your effort locally, isn't it? What you are doing that you are not able to do well, you get a partner to support you, and you have two being better than one. Now, it is encouraging, let me say that. But when those partners come to Nigeria and they see the reality on ground, then they will understand better what the situation is. Because the reality on ground is that the government may fail to meet its own side of the commitment, all right? Second is that the corruption on ground will nauseate some of them, that they will have to go back to where they're coming from. Just look at it. What is hard in creating an enabling environment? Even before we start talking about partnership, which I'm not against, have we leveraged on the power of the diasporans in developing agriculture in Nigeria? Have we? How many state governments have in their plan, say we have agricultural development or investment company we've set up, being led by a private company to attract investment into agriculture in Edo State, for example, in Oyo State, all right, in Lagos, or whatever state. So you have little effort from the government. They just create that enabling environment. There are people who want to invest back home, but they are afraid of the corruption. They are concerned about the situation. So we can leverage on partnership, but it still goes back to the same thing I've always said on this your program, Tolu. We need to lay proper foundation. My concern is this. You have a country so large, so huge, all the resources are available. We can't feed ourselves. So we have new governments coming and they go on. Now we have a new government, and I constantly mentioned it. Have we revealed why we can't feed ourselves as a nation? Have we? Why is it that we keep on doing the same thing the previous governments have done and we want changes? So I'm not against partnership. I'm just concerned that this same noise we've heard over and over again, it will not yield the expected benefits if the required foundation or the structure are not properly put in place. Okay? In the pidgin parlance, we talk about money misrule. When you have money not meeting proper planning, it is wasted and it doesn't give you what you want. Let us sit down, okay? We have a new government. We have a new Minister of Agriculture. I have asked myself, what commitment has the Minister of Agriculture put out there that we can hold him on? Like, this is my vision to ensure that food prices come down in the next 1 year, 2 years. I'll be a fool to sit down here to tell you that, okay, I expect miracles in 2 months. No, it takes time. But what are the baby steps? The government said we should just follow the baby steps and enjoy the pain. My question is, where is the baby steps the government is taking to reduce food prices in Nigeria in the next 1, 2, 3 years? What are the baby steps this present administration is taking, okay, to reduce in terms of addressing food prices, short term, medium term, long term? No planning, nothing, and we just come and do showmanship on the TV. So partnership, you can go to the moon and get partners. If you have not done your proper homework locally, it may not, and it will not yield the benefits you're expecting thereof.
Serious homework here. So I'm looking at the kind of conversation now we need to be having moving forward. The fiscal side has a role to play in supporting farmers, so as the monetary side. Yes, I don't also support throwing out monies and all of that, but there must be a synergy to make the farmers benefit from all of the goodies that government is ready to churn out to them. How best do you expect government to go about this? Of course, there's a plan one way or the other to support farmers. Let's agree on that note. But it's how well it trickles down. That is where the issue has always been. So what mode do you suggest to at least, if it is fertilizer, let it get to those that really will need it, those that are farming and are ready to sell to Nigerians, not those that they call, in quote, portfolio farmers. That will be my wrapping up question, and what will be your message again to government looking forward?
Yeah, it's important that both the monetary and the fiscal side of government work together. And if you remember, when the previous CBN governor was delving into a realm that was outside his scope, I did mention that is supposed to be for the fiscal side, not the monetary side. And now that he's left, you can see the whole thing is crumbling. So the first thing is, what has happened to the Anchor's Bureau scheme? Where is it now? What are we going to do with it? What are we intending to do with it? So the question is, what is the approach to get some of these inputs to farmers, I think? It's going to be a little bit challenging unless we change this structure. Let's not deceive ourselves, Tolu. By the time the government wants to give something to farmers, the party agents will take over, all right? Whether you like it or not, somebody will say, no, he's not from this party. It belongs to that party. So it might just be that those from a particular party who are farmers get all they need, and those who are not from that party do not. Why? Because the structure is faulty. Because the structure is not going to help that. So the thing I think we can start doing is this. Farmers, many of them just need to help, honestly. They don't need all the money in this world, okay? If you have the same arrangement under the Anchor Brewer scheme, refined now, not necessarily, the way it was, refined in such a way that they have where they go to is not government-led. No, remove government officials' hands from it. It's not government-led, it's private sector-driven, or however you want to do it. They go there, they get their input, they plant, they grow. When they are done, they can return something back to that company or to that organization, and they can subsequently be assisted by the government by ensuring their production is monitored, access is ensured. When they have surplus, the government comes in and buys it off, whether directly or through that company. It can work. That can work and it can help. But if we say we just want to start giving out fertilizers, you will give out how many trailers, and it still won't get to those who need it because the structure, I keep repeating it, is faulty. You can't build a skyscraper on a faulty foundation. This government owes Nigeria that duty to revamp and to revise and review what is going on in the food situation in Nigeria. 4 years or 8 years, as some are claiming, is too long for people to be patient. And whether they like it or not, when a poor man is hungry and he gets angry, he must eat something. And you know what the answer is.
I must thank you so much, Dr. Mathew Ojo, researcher and agribusiness economist. Thank you for joining us from the United Kingdom to make sense of this. We appreciate this.
Thank you very much, Tony.